can you do the splits? That's the #1 question anybody gets about flexibility. But I think a better question is if you can scratch that one spot on your back. You know the spot. Flexibility is more than just a party trick. Yes, it feels great to be the center of attention, but there are actually many useful reasons to train flexibility. Oh, it broke. Problem with my now wife. Here is 6 ways you can test your flexibility to see how advanced you are. Coffee. Today's video is sponsored by
Bold of you to assume that I make money from this.
If you do want to support, I have merch. There's Stay Flexi hoodies, t-shirts, and cropped t-shirts as well. Stay Flexi. Let's get into #1. The deep squat. This is the ability to fully bend the knees, hamstrings covering the calf, with the heels firmly planted on the floor. By the way, I'm gonna make full-length videos on every single one of these things. This skill involves ankle mobility so that your knee can go past your toe with your heel still firmly planted on the ground. Now, genetics do play a role in how far your knee can go forward, but there are slight ways to improve it, like for instance, collapsing the arch down a little bit and it allows the knee to go further forward. This skill also requires you to be able to fully bend your knees pain-free just like so. Maybe not on the hardwood floor, I'm a little insane, but the ability to maximally bend your knees all the way is severely underrated. And last but not least, it also requires hip mobility, but not this kind of hip mobility. It requires this kind of hip mobility to get your body as close to your legs as possible, preferably with a flat back, but if you start with a rounded back, that's a great place to start. You'll just build up your hip mobility and get better at it as you go. And quick little tip, if you're pregnant or you have a larger belly, you can rely on more hip mobility by widening your legs, giving yourself plenty of room up front. It just means you have to do extra work for hip mobility, but look, the knees do not have to go past the toes, so you have to work on less ankle mobility. In my opinion, the deep squat is the most useful skill and you will be using it the most in your everyday life. Like when you leave your coffee on the kitchen floor. And #2, the toe touch. Everybody at one point or another in their life has been told to touch their toes with their knees straight. For some reason, this is like the hallmark of flexibility, but did you know it involves a lot more than just your hamstrings? If you keep your back perfectly flat and try and touch your toes, you'll see how quickly you get stopped. Now, the more flexible you get, the further down you can go, but still very, very difficult. So this skill obviously requires some spinal flexion. That's the rounding forward of the spine, just like so. But it also needs your glutes to lengthen out as well, because your butt muscle literally wraps all the way over. So it needs to lengthen out so that you can reach further forward. Once you've achieved the toe touch, you can start challenging yourself even more by trying to go elbow to toe. Why is that so much harder every single time I do it? And the benefits of learning this skill is that you can, again, just like the deep squat, pick up, where did my coffee go? You can pick up your coffee off of the kitchen floor without bending the knees, I guess. But I guess it also helps if you want to, like, I don't know, kick people in the face. Can you tell I don't fight? Anyway, #3, shoulder dislocations. You're not actually dislocating your shoulders, even though it may appear that way. All you need to do is grab a belt, a broom, a Stay Flexi hoodie from bonfire.com/stayflexi, or even just a blanket, really. I don't think I really need to mention this, but it really helps with getting that one itchy spot on your back. So yeah, this one's really valuable. As you go throughout that range, you stretch your lats, you also stretch out your chest, your biceps, and you stretch all 4 of your rotator cuff muscles. So if you do it safely, it's super healthy for your shoulders. Oh, and bodybuilders, pay attention. Having that kind of shoulder mobility really helps with lat spreads. All you have to do is you start wide just like so, and then you work your way a little bit closer in. And the closer you get, the more impressive this skill actually is. #4, the back bend. I'm absolutely horrendous at the back bend. I'm getting better and better at it, bridging wise, but I injured my back a while back. So I have some restrictions that I have to work through with this one, but I'll get there. The back bend requires a great deal of abdominal flexibility. Most people think you're just bending your back and you're crunching down on your spine, but that's not healthy for you. The correct way to perform any type of extension or back movement is to really increase the length between your ribs and your pelvis by stretching those abs. And that's how you get that maximal bend. Even if you have restrictions like me, you can focus on stretching those abs. Always avoiding pain, please. This skill is super useful for people who are in martial arts because you want to be able to have strength in all ranges of motion, even if you're upside down or just creeping people out. Number 5, the front split. The reason why this is so low on the list is because it's less practical for life, but it teaches you how to combine different types of flexibility. For instance, it's your hip flexors and your hamstrings stretching simultaneously in opposite directions. The reason why the hip flexor doesn't have its own section is because if you're doing back bends correctly, your hip flexors are already going to be stretching, as you can see, just like that. With any of these skills, really, you can take it even further and go into oversplits or folding in half backwards if you're doing the back bend route. But I prefer more of a functional way of thinking about it. Functional? Functional for what? I'm glad you asked. Your front splits don't have to be passive. You can also do active holds like this, where you're actually flexing the muscles and holding your body off of the ground. Be prepared, you will be extraordinarily sore after doing those. Doing active holds instead of just passive holds will really let you own your flexibility. So for instance, if somebody pushed you over and you fell into a split, you're probably not going to injure yourself because you have the strength to hold yourself up and you're not going to go. And last but not least, the middle split. I know I said the toe touch was the hallmark of flexibility, but the middle split is probably the most iconic stretch of all time. The middle split combines a lot of muscles to make just one little skill happen. It's your adductors, your hamstrings, and your hip flexors, because they're all right there in your inner thigh area, and they all work together to make it happen. And active holds in the middle splits are just as valuable as active holds in the front splits. That's what they're called. If each one of these 6 skills was a point, how many points would you have? Stay flexy.